Greetings and salutations, everybody. This is your host, Jay Money, and welcome to another edition of Pennies for Thoughts. Today's topic is going to be about my personal theory and why I believe that Goten and Trunks turned into Super Saiyans at such a young age, as opposed to everyone else that actually had to really work and train really, really hard in order to achieve this status. Before I start, I just want to talk a little bit about how difficult it was for Goku to transform into a Super Saiyan, him being the first character in Dragon Ball Z to turn into Super Saiyan, not counting Bardock, of course, because, I'm just going to talk about the main Dragon Ball Z storyline instead of movies or episode shorts. Now, Goku is the main hero, of course, and he is constantly training every day of his life, or pretty much all of his life, and it would go to show that it was extremely difficult for him to reach a level high enough to turn Super Saiyan. And not only that, he had to have the internal motivation to push him forward and, fully become a Super Saiyan. And for Vegeta, this was the same way. Vegeta, he had to struggle really hard to become a Super Saiyan, and he finally did become a Super Saiyan through having my personal theory is that you have to have a main base power level that is a certain amount, and then be pushed to a certain emotional trauma in order to achieve it. Now this pretty much goes, there's proof of this with Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, and even future Trunks. But when you notice the later episodes of Dragon Ball Z, around the Buu saga, I guess. There's a lot of different sagas, but I'm just gonna say the Buu saga because it was pretty much the main enemy for that last whole season, where Gohan is an adult, and any fan would know pretty much what I'm talking about. And we see when Gohan is training with Goten to prepare for the upcoming martial arts competition, we see that Goten transforms into a Super Saiyan pretty much with ease, no problem. And we later see that Trunks at the age of 8 can do the same thing. And when I first watched it, it kind of got on my nerves a little bit because, I'm sure other people thought it was cool. Oh, he's so young. To me, it ruins the effect. And it always bothered me why. And I never really thought to talk about too much of my own opinions about it. But here it is. If you notice in the flashback of when Goten turns into a Super Saiyan, during the flashback we see that Goten achieves the level of Super Saiyan from training with his mother Chi-Chi, and him getting kicked in the face, and I guess he wasn't really happy about it, or he felt hurt or whatever, and that was prompted him to become a Super Saiyan. Now, my problem with this is I don't necessarily think that he has the base power level, strong enough to withstand that Super Saiyan transformation, and I don't think that that's nearly enough trauma in order to become, an emotional push to become a Super Saiyan. And my biggest theory is probably pretty much my only theory. This is the only explanation I could think of, is the genetics of the Saiyan race. Now, if you notice that Goten was conceived after Goku had already become a Super Saiyan, and he was at such a high power level, and I think that's the main reason that the child was conceived at a certain point when Goku was already very, very powerful, whereas Gohan was conceived when Goku wasn't even able to do the Kaioken. Gohan was conceived a long time ago. So the differences in their power from birth, I think, is determined by the level of their predecessor, their fathers or their mothers' power level. I believe that if you were to look at Goten's power level when he was a baby, it might actually be much greater than most people would suspect. So my thinking on it is the stronger that the the stronger the father or the mother, whichever, if they're a Saiyan, then the genetic code kind of like, I guess, like remembers that power level, and they pretty much get stronger just based off of how strong their parents were. And I can't really think of any theory that would dispute this, or any theory that anybody else, anything in the Dragon Ball Z universe that would really come into conflict with what I'm thinking, other than the fact that Trunks, future Trunks, didn't turn into a Super Saiyan until what we saw around 13 years old, or if you're counting the manga, probably a little bit before that. And of course you have to count the manga, I guess, to an extent. It's canon. But there's a big difference in Trunks turning into a Super Saiyan around his teenage years instead of 8 years old. So up until that point, the timeline was pretty much the same when Trunks was born. So there wouldn't be anything really drastic of a change. And neither Goten nor Trunks really got, actually, that's it. Trunks lost his father. Future Trunks lost his father, so he didn't have anyone to train him. Whereas young Trunks, in the timeline that we know of Dragon Ball Z, Trunks grew up with Vegeta, and Vegeta was grilling him probably from the time he was able to walk. We gotta love Saiyans, they're awesome. But Vegeta was probably having Trunks train from the time he was able to walk, and Vegeta, I imagine, would be a much more severe training master than Gohan and for future Trunks. So, and not only that, Trunks would probably look up to his father a great deal, so he would actually have a good emotional motivation to be pushed to that degree. So I think that also explains, and Vegeta was very powerful when Trunks was conceived as well. So I think my whole theory about that like really makes sense, and I'm just shooting this video out to see if that makes sense to anyone else, and if anyone else has their own theories about it, because it's something that always kind of bugged me about how easy they were able to turn into Super Saiyans at such a young age. Made it seem like it wasn't even a big deal. And anyway, thanks for listening, everybody, and please leave some comments or any little tidbit of information that I could think about. All right, thank you guys, and you have a wonderful day.